You're live, Ashley.
All right, thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. This is Ashley Vaquero with the Office of Charter Schools. I'm going to go ahead and take attendance really quick to make sure we have a quorum, and then we'll get started. Stephen Gay.
Present.
Bruce Friend.
Here.
Rita Hare. Dave Machado. Dave, you there? I see you.
Here.
Okay. Hilda Parlay.
Present.
Todd Godby. Eric Sanchez. Bart Danielson.
Ashley, this is Rita. Did you
okay.
Did you get my here? I'm
Thank
here.
you, Rita. Eric Sanchez, I see you on here. Can you hear me, Eric?
I can.
All right. Shelley Shope. Here. John Eldridge.
Here.
Alex Quigley. All right, I don't see him on here. Okay, well, we do have quorum.
I'm sorry I'm not available at this time, but if you would leave me a detailed message, and I will return your call as soon as possible.
If you're not speaking, if you could please mute, that would be great. All right, we have a quorum, and Mr. Friend, if you want to get us started with the pledge, and then we can approve the agenda and the minutes and go from there.
Very good. Thank you, Ashley. Welcome, everyone. Today is Friday, August 11th. This is a meeting of the Charter School Advisory Board. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Always very awkward doing the pledge here every time over the video conference, but thank you, everybody. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict of interest, appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and voting on the matter. Board members, does anyone want to express a conflict of interest with the agenda today? Okay, hearing none, the mission of the Charter School Advisory Board is that we work to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. Today's agenda, and again, I just going to remind, as Ms. Paro politely asked, if you're not speaking, please make sure you're on mute. Makes it very difficult for the rest of us to focus in on the meeting. So please double check that you're on mute. Thank you. Today's agenda, sorry, before we jump into today's agenda, excuse me, moving ahead too quickly here. We did have a meeting on Monday, June 26th. During that meeting, it was a special called meeting to recommendations of a charter school that had a 3-year renewal. We need to approve the minutes of the June 26th meeting. I'm going to assume all board members have had a chance to review those minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the June 26th CSAB board meeting minutes?
Mr. Chair, I just want to note that there was an instance or two that didn't use subject-verb agreement in quoting me, such as saying there was 5 challenges or something like that. So I did not see any issue with the content, but I don't think I spoke that way, but I didn't notate it. I just wanted to, make it known that I think I used the right subject-verb agreement, but if not, forgive me.
And actually, was I correct in the person who voted nay for one of the schools?
Yes, we correct that.
I was correct or no?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I move we approve the June 26th special call meeting minutes as amended.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve in a second. Discussion? Let's all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, we'll presume unanimous on the minutes. Thank you, everybody. Okay, moving into today's agenda. As a reminder, today we're hearing from 4 schools. These are schools that were given a 3-year renewal as recommended by the CSAB earlier this year, as well as recommended by the State Board of Ed. However, with the State Board of Ed's recommendation, there were some stipulations based upon this renewal. We're going to be reviewing those stipulations and the plans that these schools have set forth today. I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Ms. Cook, who kind of gives a brief overview, and then we will be hearing from each of the schools who will be given 15 minutes to share the details of their school improvement plan. So Ms. Cook, are you ready?
I am. Good morning. Jenna Cook with the Office of Charter Schools. And so we're just going to quickly go over what those renewal stipulations were. There were 4 schools that were approved for a 3-year renewal ending in 2026 that but their renewal was based on some stipulations. We're here today to discuss the first stipulation primarily, but then we'll talk about the others. The 4 schools that are with us today are Paul R. Brown Leadership Academy, Monroe Charter Academy, Rocky Mount Preparatory, and Apprentice Academy of North Carolina. And so the renewal stipulations were that first, that the schools had to write a 3-year school improvement plan. That improvement plan must be designed to improve instruction at the school and address any other deficiencies that have been cited by our office during the last 2 academic years. The plan should also include, or must also include, specific research-based strategies designed to increase instructional outcomes. The plan will be presented to you, the Charter School Advisory Board, for consideration and approval at this meeting today. So there will be an approval for each of the plans. And then if the Charter School Advisory Board does not find that the submitted plan is likely to result in improved academic outcomes, it will be the duty to either make recommendations for changes, or CSAB can also determine the changes and then direct that they be made. And then the schools must implement their plans with fidelity, or it will not be eligible for a further charter. So today, the main focus will be on those school improvement plans that the schools each submitted. The second part of the renewal stipulations was around training. Schools also submitted a professional development plan so that the Charter School Advisory Board, along with the Office of Charter Schools, can kind of see how the schools are going to achieve this plan or this type of training. So each academic year of the next 3 years, all members of the school's board and the school's leadership team, including the school director and principal, must participate in 5 leadership or instructional practice training modules. And then the second part of the training was that teachers working at the school must receive meaningful training by an experienced educational professional on how to improve instruction outcomes for students. So those professional development plans have also been submitted to see how the schools plan to achieve these 2 stipulations geared around training. And then there were 2 additional stipulations. One is on academic outcomes. So the schools must meet or exceed growth for at least 2 out of the next 3 academic years. So our office will be tracking that once scores are released. And then the school must maintain compliance with financial and legal requirements. And so that'll be something that our office will also help track over the next 3 years. So the next part, I will plan to just call up each of the individual schools. What's on the slides here is the academic data that was presented to you all when the renewal discussions were up. So you can use this as some background information along with, as you make the decisions about each of the plans. So I will go ahead and turn, or I guess if there are no questions about the stipulations, I can go ahead and turn it over to Paul R. Brown Leadership Academy to present to us their school improvement plan.
Jenna, I have a question. This is Rita.
Sure.
Do we know the order that the schools are appearing this morning?
Yes, it will be Paul R. Brown, and then Ashley, if you'll scroll, I believe it's Paul R. Brown, Monroe, or I'm sorry, Paul R. Brown, Rocky Mount, Monroe, and then Apprentice. That will be the order.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Before we hand it over to Paul R. Brown, do any other board members have any questions about the specific tasks we have before us today? Okay, hearing none, we'll turn it over to representatives from Paul R. Brown. If you could help us out by identifying who you are when you're speaking, and remember you'll have maximum 15 minutes, and then we'll move into a Q&A.
Yes, sir. Can everyone hear me clearly? I'm kind of on a big smart board. It's not.
I can hear you, Dr. Wright.
Okay.
It sounds like you may have
an echo
volume on your computer and keyboard at the same time. We're getting a lot of echo.
Yeah. How about now?
Yes.
Is there an echo? Because I got two boards on.
I don't hear an echo. I think it's just
Okay.
people are talking.
Okay. So I'm Jason Ray. I'm the superintendent at Paul R. Brown Leadership Academy, and I would just say we got Ms. Minnie Price is in the room with me. She's the board chair, and also a board member, Mr. Roland McCoy. We have several other board members that's on the line today. So I'll just go ahead and get started with my 15 minutes. I'll first go for the school improvement plan. And by the way, I shared some data with the Office of the Charter School Advisory Board from this year's EOC, the EOG scores. We actually started our school improvement plan about 18 months ago. So I wanted to present that data that showed that this plan is helping us move forward. We had a very successful year. And actually we found out yesterday at about 4 o'clock that we did meet growth for the year. So we're looking at probably being a mid-level C school this year. So I'll go ahead and get started after that. Our first goal is to increase our EOG and EOC scores by 5%. And also added, since the stipulations came about, to meet expected academic growth. So we use our first strategy, which is our clear learning targets in every classroom. So we want to ensure that all our teachers are working with collective teacher efficacy, because according to John Hattie, that is the process that would ensure that students achieve academic growth each and every year, and teachers work together. So that is our main focus, is having clear learning targets using a high probability instructional strategies in each and every classroom. And as you see the impact of clear learning targets on student achievement, it provides students with a destination for their learning. When students know and understand the learning target, their performance is enhanced and they can make connections with the content. Students also know what is expected of them and how to apply the information to the future and build new cognitive skills. We also ensure that each and every one of our goals were designed using the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-specific, which are SMART goals. The action steps we decided to use is going to complete examination of all subject curriculum to ensure alignment of the curriculum with the state standards and a course of study. So this is a 3-year cycle of curriculum, and what we learned is we've gotten better from year to year, because what we learned the year before, we did better this year, and we had our retreat just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and we put our playbook together to say that, look at what we know now, because we checked all the blocks during this school year. We did all the check-ins for all the EOGs and all the EOCs. We used an hour at a time after school for tutoring and remediation, and the results paid off. We actually had a 9% increase from the EOG, EOC scores based from last year. Our second strategy, of course, is the alignment of our instructional learning targets. We want to ensure that when we go into classroom through observations, that what we see on the board is what being taught and what was submitted for the weekly lesson plans. That's very important because those learning targets are references doing the content delivery and defining the skills that'll be mastered by the students. So the impact on student achievement is when information, responses, activities, and questions are aligned to the learning target, students are able to practice, receive feedback, and self-assess mastery towards the intended skills. Again, this strategy is aligned with our clear learning targets, and it was specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-specific. Action steps: we formed a committee responsible for best practice and support. So we got what we considered our best teachers, and we met together, decided these are going to be our practices so our newer teachers can come on board and be successful and not really struggling. The last thing you want to have is a struggling teacher in a struggling school. So you want to give them that confidence, work with them to ensure that they stay around and give us that continuity we need to be successful. Our second goal is we want to increase student and teacher attendance. I don't know if you guys recall when I briefed up in December in Raleigh, I talked about student attendance and teacher attendance and how that affect student achievement in school because it goes both ways. We understand that when a student is absent, that's one student that's going to miss 4 classes. But when a teacher is absent, that's going to be 75 to 90 students. And I say 75 to 90 now because our ADM has increased from 147 to just around 199. I got 40 applications this morning. So that impact with students and teachers being in attendance is going to be huge. So you want to make sure we have an enriched environment, which is the ability of the teacher to shape the physical, social, emotional, and academic environment of the classroom to support and enhance learning. Classroom got to be collaborative, emotionally warm, inviting, joyful, and physically attractive and socially positive. Those things get students coming to school and want to come to school and love to come to school. So we want to make sure we focus on that. There's a strong evidence relationship between teachers and students. If teachers build a relationship with students are going to feel warm, they're going to feel welcome, they're going to feel loved. And as we can see from our last year data, they're going to give us their best. I mean, our students gave us their best. That's why we were able to increase by 9 percentage points, which is huge on any measure. The impact on student achievement, students are motivated to connect positive to the learning. Students are experiencing feelings of pride and self-achievement in the pursuit of academic goals. Again, we base this off our SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-sensitive. And one thing we want to ensure that teachers understand is do not mistake behavior for academic ability. There's a lot of students out there who misbehave in school but have academic ability to be successful, and it's our job to reach out and do that. So you see the action steps there. The department directors analyze the current enrichment opportunities available to the school on every level, analyze the current offerings, and it goes down to talking about setting student goals for participation in closing activities. As I go to goal 3, we want to identify and secure our resources, financial resources, and be responsible for those financial resources. We develop comprehensive long-range plans for school facilities that support student application of stated academic standards. Students want to come and parents want to see a school campus that makes them proud, that makes them inviting. Our best recruiters, that caused our ADM to rise so quickly, was basically through the parents and elder students. One thing we did do with our finance last year, we was careful in spending our PRC 181, which is ESSA 3. We actually froze those funds in anticipation of having to need funds to be successful moving through this school year, because those funds are available through September the 30th, 2024. So it was a risky move, but it worked for us because we want to have funds for gas, bus drivers, and maintenance, but it would disrupt, the learning environment. So we was able to save over $191,000 by freezing those funds and then having those funds available for professional development and to close that learning gap for this school year. So we conducted a study of our facilities to make sure things are clean, well kept, because all of that can contribute to a successful school. We've got a network infrastructure that is robust, secure, and supports the emerging technologies, investment in technology, and student support curriculum initiatives. We are very excited based on what our school improvement plan has done over the last 12 months. I mean, it exceeded my expectations. I just didn't think it was going to be able to jump from a 27 one year to a 36 overall the next year. But and then it increased the ADM. It says a lot about what the community, the surrounding communities think about a school when the ADM starts to go up the way ours has so far this school year, and we expect it to get even higher. We worked with over the last 3 years with the IPG folks, Innovative Partnership Grant. Dr. Chico Caldwell and his team, they worked with us in the last 3 years. And we will continue to work with them as far as professional development, not only for our teachers twice a month, but also he's going to work with our school board. I already started working with our school board and myself to ensure that we're all aligned and doing the things that support the mission and our school improvement plan. Our board has come a long way, and I'm very pleased and proud to sit here today and say that, because 9 months ago we weren't there. We were struggling. But because the board has come on board, we've got Dr. Caldwell and his team working with us, all the buy-in that we need to be successful. And Paula Brown is really showing some great improvements. So the school board professional development plan, there's a list of things that we have here. We're looking at the performance training review. We're already doing that. We're going by each actual rating with the school board so they understand what the rating should look like and how they all contribute and collaborate to come up with the overall rating. We also have some governance training, and Ms. Picaro actually conducted that training for us. So that's something that the school board definitely needed, and it was outstanding training. And then next we're moving to understanding NESIS. Because the school board is going to be rating, I rate the teachers using NESIS. They rate me in the process. So that's going to be one of our trainings for the next over the next 3 year period. And then understanding NC STAR, which is very important for the school board to understand that our school improvement plan is actually online for the community stakeholders to all see in the NC STAR. But we have to do some training on that so that the school board can be aware and get educated on that process. And then we're going to speak about session 5 is the board's most important responsibilities. Again, Dr. Caldwell has laid it out. You know, all school boards have 3 major responsibilities: developing the annual budget, to run the school system, setting school policies, and hiring and inviting the superintendent. So those are things that we're looking at for session 5. And then for the teacher training, again, Dr. Caldwell and his team is going to come in. We're going to drill down again on our 11 high probability instructional strategies. And the key to this is we could proceed with this school improvement plan even without funding if we didn't have any additional funding, because this is built into what we're already doing. It costs us no additional funds to even to be able to address our school improvement plan. But again, expected outcomes is clear learning targets provide students with destination of their learning. That's key in every classroom. And then our board and leadership for year 2, we'll do performance review, enhancement, and a board retreat. Did our first board retreat this school year. I believe it was the first retreat in 10 years. We did a 2-day board retreat, and it really opened our eyes up to how we need to get moving forward down the line, because you think about it, we may have a 3-year renewal, but we all know that the first 2 years are going to be key to our success. And then the board leadership training session 2, again, is governance training updates, something that's required annually. Session 3 for year 2 is understanding the charter school ADM, the average daily membership. When you're a small charter school, your ADM drives what you can and cannot do. You have to have strong ADM numbers in order to have the financial resources to support what you're doing in the school. And I know during the governance training, one thing that Ms. Picaro pointed out was when most charter schools fail because of financial reasons, it's because they don't have the financial support as far as ADM to hire the teachers, to hire all those positions to be successful as a school. And then the board and leadership session 4, standards, curriculum, and instruction updates. Ms. Linda Lynn would be helping us with that training, but that's when we start getting the board members understanding what goes on in the classroom, how do you develop curriculum, and how do you move students when it comes to mission and having a academically enriched educational environment. Session 5, lessons learned from a charter school board attorney. So we have an attorney come in and kind of talk to us about watching out for those potholes at the charter school and being successful and being consistent. And then for the teacher training, teacher evaluations and EVAs in North Carolina, we at Paul R. Brown, we go where the data takes us. I tell the teachers all the time, you have to follow the data. We can't make decisions without looking at the data and deciding what should be doing or what should not be doing. Focus on what matters the most. That's the key to being successful. And as we go to year 3, annual board retreat.
Dr. Ray.
Held in June. Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you just so you stay on time.
Okay.
But I'll keep this up in case CSAB has any questions about anything else.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ray. And open it up for members if you have any comments about this plan.
I do, Mr. Chair. This is Hilda Parlay. First of all, I want to applaud Dr. If they put into their goals and strategies, well written, easy to read and understand, and the professional development plan met all of the criteria. They submitted a 3-year plan with specific dates, the number of hours or time spent for the training. They included the board as well as the superintendent. So overall, their work is to be applauded. And thank you very much, Dr. Ray and the board. Hilda Parlay.
Thank you, Hilda. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Dr. Ray, can you tell us what grade span you have at your school? I know I should know that, but I cannot remember right now.
Yes, sir. We have grades 6 through 12.
Dr. Ray, this is Mr. Flood again. I have a couple of questions, if I may. Just curious on the teacher training plan. This is, obviously teacher training and the why wait until November? I'm trying to pull the first one up here. Excuse me here. Yeah, the teacher training on probability and instructional strategies. November is well into the school year. I'm just curious if there was thought given to putting that maybe a little bit earlier in the school year, or what are your thoughts along those lines?
Well, sir, actually, that's an ongoing training because we're doing a high probability strategy for the last 18 months. So we look at different sections, and since we did a retreat in August, we want to give teachers a chance to come in September, October. We'll start doing some walkthroughs, but the 11-hour probability instructional strategies is ongoing every day at Paul R. Brown State. That's our everyday fabric.
Okay, thank you for that. The other one has the goal around, obviously we all understand the importance of having low absenteeism, not just for students, but with staff. I'm just curious, what has been your average staff absenteeism on a daily basis in recent years? I'm just curious how you came up. 3% is like a specific number.
Yes, sir. At Paul R. Brown, we have a small staff in the building. We only have actually 7 teachers and 3 facilitators. So I felt like when I calculated 3%, especially for the students, you go from 91% to 94%. That's huge for the student population. So I wanted to kind of do something consistent. But on average, when you only got 7 teachers in the building, and I tell the teachers all the time, if one teacher is absent, everything has to change, because now you got to cover down, and there's really no one here to do that. So I thought 3% was a goal we can start with and just try to move forward. But really that's kind of like one teacher being absent a week. But we have seen some challenges over the last 12 months because if one teacher is absent, I mean, it becomes a struggle when you got that many kids in the building and very few teachers and staff.
Mr. Friend, Dr. Ray, I have a question. Will you confirm that the training was done on June 22nd and July 27th?
Yes, ma'am. I will confirm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Ray, will you talk to me about, I heard what you said about the ongoing PD and it being daily for your teacher training, but my concern, will you talk to me about the follow-up? You have for your teachers, you have training scheduled in November of this year, January of 2025, and then in 2026, in April of 2026. Will you talk to me? Is there any follow-up between these that are planned? Because those three that you have are three totally different topics. But I'm wondering, if you hit instructional strategies in November, and then you don't have anything else planned until January of 25, and that's basically EVOS and data. So what's the follow-up? Do you have a plan for follow-up with instructional strategies, and then possibly follow-up for EVOS? Because EVOS is a tough thing for teachers to really grasp, and I agree with you that it's a fantastic thing to do. But is there any follow-up planned?
Actually, ma'am, we have professional development two days every month when Dr. Caldwell team comes in. So that's the reason for the gaps in between. We had to have a 3-year plan, so we just stress them out. But do the high probability instructional strategies, like what we did for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as our retreat. Now we have things to go back and look at when school starts. And then we do the instructional strategy. We go back, we have time to make some corrections, do some observations, meet as a staff, and then move on to the next one. So it was kind of stressed out because we had to have a 3-year plan. But we do actual professional development training 2 days every month. And it'd be around those topics. So up until November, it'll be looking at lesson planning, curriculum instruction, pacing guides, what we call our playbook. And then we come in November and do our left power probability sector strategy. We start going through walkthroughs, looking for those strategies and evidence of those during the classroom. And we kind of follow that process to be consistent, throughout the next trainings over the next 3 years. But it was just stressed out because of the three-year plan.
Mr. Ray, this is Rita Hare. I commend you on your hard work on this plan. I know you've got a lot ahead of you. It sounds good, and we hope to see you meet success. I was looking at your data that you submitted in 2019. You came before this board, and you were struggling then with some F scores, not met. So you came with some strategies that year. Let me pull that up. It included, I think you saw was one of the needs. There's an echo. Is everyone else hearing that?
Yeah. If they've got two monitors going on, I think the speaker off on one of them on their end.
Okay. Your plan at that time, an area that you identified as a need of growth, was to have the teachers actively involved in assessment data, teaching teachers how to use the data and gather data. And I don't see any mention of that in your school improvement plan. And I really don't see anything in your training, except that one in January might touch on it, but it really doesn't seem to be specific. Do you see that as a need now, or have they already gotten a grip on that and using data well?
Well, ma'am, I would tell you that 2019 plan was not my plan. I didn't arrive at 2022. And
that would be the plan you've been operating on for the past 3 years. That is the school's plan. That's Paul Brown's plan.
No, ma'am. When I arrived, because of the struggle of Paul R. Brown, I built a new plan. The plan that you're looking at now, and the one that the data I sent from 2021, 22, and then this current year's data.
So you did not follow through with that 2019 plan?
No, ma'am. No, I didn't, because I felt like, why would I keep going on the road that's been unsuccessful for the last 10 years?
Well, so where do you think you stand as far as your staff and using data to grow students, to inform instruction and direction?
Dr. Ray, you got to unmute.
Yeah, okay. Ma'am, I think the data I presented from 21, 22, and 22 and 23 show that we use data to improve our instruction. We use data that's what Dr. Ray does. Data gonna drive our instruction. But I was not gonna go down the road with the same thing that was losing since 2013, 2012. I came from a school that was struggling before I got here at East Blading. I used the same playbook, I used the same process, and now we're starting to see basically the same results. But I did not use the 2019 school improvement plan.
How long have you been at Paul R. Brown?
Man, I got here January 2022.
2022, okay, like a year and a half.
Yes. And you can see the results based on the data that I presented to the board.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Dr. Ray or anyone at Paul R. Brown regarding their plan? Okay, hearing none. Jenna, Ashley, what's the preference this morning? Is it to vote on these after we hear the presentation, or do we think we should wait till the very end and vote on all of them independently at that time?
I would suggest one at a time, because you might, some of these you might have very specific requests. So one at a time, probably better.
Yeah, that works. So as a reminder to CSAB members, what we need to do today is to vote and approve the plan that's been presented to us. If we have some suggestions, or even mandates, I guess you could say as well, that we want to make sure that the schools improve, we identify those as well, and I think put that in the motion if there was anything specifically we wanted to make sure they added. So with that, we've heard from Paul R. Brown today, had a chance to ask the questions about their 3-year plan. Do I have a motion to either approve this plan or to approve it with conditions?
Dr. Friend, do we have a chance to discuss among CSAB, or are we going to go straight to voting?
I'm sorry, yes, let's go. I apologize. I got ahead of myself. Yeah, let's open it up for discussion. This will be our time for discussion.
I'll be glad to start. I would love to have seen, I appreciate hearing Dr. Ray's explanation. I would love to have seen, and I'm sure it would have been a lot, but to at least maybe monthly or quarterly their plan for PD follow-up, because without his explanation, looking at this plan, it looks like basically they're kind of touching teachers just once a year. So I do appreciate his explanation for that, but I would have loved to have seen that spelled out for us. I'm concerned. I'm a bit concerned. I like what I'm seeing with the board leadership plan, but I feel like that's so much heavier than the teacher professional development plan. And I understand that they did, checking the box, they were required to have one, and they did one, and the weekly follow-ups in which he was talking about. But I really feel like if you're going to see changes in instruction, maybe I just needed to see that listed out a bit more.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? Okay, hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion regarding this plan?
Dr. Owens, I'll go ahead and make a motion to Paula Brown's.
You can't hear the party.
For years.
John, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Right.
Okay, let me try that again. I make a motion that we accept Paul R. Brown's school improvement plan for the next 3 years as written.
Any other party approved?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question. I have a wide range of numbers as far as student enrollment. And I see that there's been a history of that. What do we have? What is the official number today?
I'd have to look up.
OCS.
Okay. Rita, I don't have that right now. I'd have to look that up in our system. I can do that for you.
I had 150 and then I saw that it dropped to 121. I think that's on the chart provided today. He says it's at 199. In November 22, we had that they were at 195 and they dropped to 115. So you see what I'm talking about? There's just a great variance. And how many students are we talking about?
We, for the last 3 years, what we have, the official head count is 127 for 2020, 117 for 2021, and 121 for 2022.
So the 120 range would be a good number.
Right. And then the new head count, they start this fall.
Okay. And while you were answering questions, there was a series of non-compliance issues, really historically, since around 17. I'd have to go back to that data, even till last year where there was a site visit. Are all those issues resolved or being addressed?
We didn't have any open compliance issues, although I do know that they're working with fiscal monitoring on a few things, but I did hear from Ms. McFadden this morning, and she said that they have been working diligently and cooperating to work on some of those issues.
Mm-hmm. So you feel good about the movement there and what's being addressed?
Yes, and we're keeping
thumbs up on that.
Correct, and we're keeping a close eye on all of these stipulation schools and just trying to keep in constant communication with the other divisions here so that we have an idea of any problems that might arise, and we'll definitely alert you to that.
Right. I do know of the past 7 years that scores were recorded, because we don't have anything on them. I don't, for 20 and 21, but they met growth 4 of those years and didn't meet on the other 3. And I know they've been fairly consistent at an F, but as Dr. Ray was pointing out, they've met growth this year, and that is 4 out of 7. And hopefully that he's turning that tide with his leadership in these strategies. So I would support the motion today.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments from any other discussion points, CSAB members? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion to approve this plan. We have a second. Let's do a roll call vote.
Stephen Gay.
Approve.
Bruce Friend.
Approve.
Rita Hare.
Approve.
Dave Machado.
Approved.
Hilda Parlay.
Approved.
Eric Sanchez.
Aye.
Shelley Shope.
Approved.
John Eldridge.
Approved.
Alex Quigley.
Hey, I'm going to abstain just because I had to come late and I am not as well read in on this.
Okay. Okay, it does pass. So, Dr. Ray, we of course will continue to be in contact with you guys, and we'll be, here to support you guys and definitely visiting the school. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jenna, back to you.
All right, so the next school that we'll be presenting to you all is Rocky Mount Preparatory. So again, this is their academic data that was presented to you all for their renewal, and then they are here today to present their school improvement plan and as well talk through that PDP plan.
All right. Well,
Very good.
From Rocky Mount, again, we'll have 15 minutes, so we'll have Art up here at 11 o'clock.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time this morning and the opportunity to speak to you about Rocky Mount Prep's school improvement plan for the next 3 years. I'm Keen Gravely, Prep's board chair. To my left is Prep's new interim head of school. Across from me is Charles Davis, board member, and online are board members Jean Kitchen and Shelton Daniel. Dr. Collins will be sharing operational plans for the 23-24 school year. First, we are here before you not to defend or to justify our school's low-performing status. We humbly acknowledge it with utmost seriousness. While we can shed light on underlying factors that have hindered our scholars' progress, our aim is not to make excuses, but to delineate our plans to turn things around, starting with new leadership, a new culture of accountability, and teacher professional development, and that started this week. Our board has taken a detailed look into the school's operations and leadership to identify the root cause of Prep's lack of academic performance. We found that the problem was transparency of leadership, consistent communication with the board, and follow through with accountability into the classroom. These things have been changed. There's also a need for more transparency between the staff and the board, better communication between the board and families who entrust their children's education to Prep. The new leadership is committed to the transparency I just mentioned and to concrete operational plans that will be followed with fidelity. Dr. Collins brings a combination of instructional and operational expertise. This past Monday, at the start of 2 weeks of staff development, I witnessed the staff's enthusiastic reaction to Dr. Collins' kickoff address and to the tone and standards of professionalism she presented. Our school serves a diverse community with students facing things that hinder learning, economic hardships, social emotional challenges, and limited access to outside educational resources. These circumstances mean that our staff and leadership have to work harder to serve our students and our community with excellence and equity. We will implement proven, successful operational and instructional practices as detailed in our school improvement plan. We have and will ensure that the budget supports the plan, and we as a board will track our expectations all along the way. Our bank balance this morning is $2,350,000 plus. So we have the resources. We have also enlisted the help of an outside consultant to make sure we are doing what we want to be doing. From the first bus, to the first bell, to the last bell, to the last bus. I know you're aware of the origin of this school, founded in 1997 with the vision of local business leaders, particularly Bob Malden, a top bank executive in Rocky Mount, to create a world-class free public education in the Rocky Mount area. The board has 3 former educators, one a highly effective and well-known Parker Middle School principal, Mr. Davis I mentioned already, another with years of classroom experience and 9 years of Nash Rocky Mount Public Schools board membership, some of which she was the chair, and another with 14 years of experience in K-12 school technology planning and training. We have already started this school's required board training. As a board, we are committed to seeing Rocky Mount Prep scholars exceed growth and proficiency. We will make sure to track academic progress along with careful financial monitoring. As a board, we acknowledge that at times we trusted previous leadership without requiring consistent, transparent reporting to verify that plans and action steps were being followed. We own those mistakes and now have a more frequent and thorough reporting process for monthly board meetings. Rocky Mount Prep is one of the safest school campuses in Nash County, in the whole area. We are proud to provide a safe place where children can learn without the threat of violence of gang activity. We now need to ensure academic gains are the same way. This school was founded on the promise to offer students a world-class education, and that is exactly what we aim to do. I'll now ask Dr. Collins on my left to speak to you regarding operational plans for the upcoming year.
Thank you, Mr. Gravely, and good morning to the board. Thank you for your time. My name is Dr. Heather Collins, and I am serving as the interim head of school here for Rocky Mount Prep. I have 21 years of educational experience that prepares me to help this school and this community arise from what seems like a challenging start, but I know will be a successful finish. This year, Rocky Mount Preparatory Academy will be faced with new challenges for academic growth, and we must meet or exceed that growth by the end of this 2023-2024 year. I am proud to state that RMP is fortunate to have the resources that provide for social and emotional wellness for our scholars. We currently have 2 psychotherapists that serve our student population. Additionally, we have academic coaches that will serve all grade levels. I mentioned that to say that this year's planning will not only include classroom teachers and deans, but planning sessions that are data-driven and all-inclusive to the work of the support services it's going to take to make this school function and achieve success. I am aware that you all have the plan in front of you, and so I'm going to review the plan in essence of time to allow for questions if there are any. I want you to know that plans for our instructors did begin this week with 2 weeks of staff development. It's an intensive training that includes Get Better Faster implementation and best practices in the classroom. Instructors are being mentored in minute-by-minute plans, lesson plans, and effective use of our curriculum and pacing guides. Instructional coaches have been provided to support our instructors in reaching their full potential by identifying teacher needs, observing their instruction, and referring to the school data for insights. In addition, mentors have been assigned to our beginning teachers to improve pedagogical practices. Added to the slate of offerings this year are tiered teacher observations that will occur weekly. Classroom walkthroughs are now done on a daily basis. The use of advancement via individual determination, better known as AVID, AVID strategies are being reinforced in our classrooms as well. Writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading is expressed in our lesson plans now and modeled in our demonstrated lessons. We have added grade level AVID team leads that will support our teachers on best practices and implementation. The role of our deans in our professional learning communities are charged with ensuring that our teachers know how to read and analyze the data that they are receiving to drive their instruction. We will identify groups that have low scores that will be pulled out for small group instruction. And we also have interventionists that will provide one-on-one individual teaching and coaching to help our students achieve their goal. Our team this year is not only committed to after-school tutoring, but this year we will implement Saturday Academy that will include academic and enrichment activities for students to make sure that they obtain growth. I want to share that the transformation plan for Rocky Mount Prep that is listed in the SIP is built off of the decision to utilize relay practices with fidelity. Our team has worked to develop minute-by-minute plans for arrival, departure, transition, morning circle, and the first 5 minutes of class that will structure our day for intentional learning. Our lesson plans will now be reviewed weekly and given feedback by our principals and coaches in order to increase rigor and the retention of taught learning concepts. Curriculum and pacing guides are now given to every instructor to align their classroom with the fidelity of the curriculum and ensure that they are deadline oriented and they are milestone focused to drive instruction. We also have assessments that are built in for acknowledgement of achievement and monitoring in areas that need improvement. This year, our academic progress will be monitored on a weekly basis and reported directly to the board on a bi-weekly basis through electronic reports. Academic progress across all grade levels will be reported monthly in our new principals report. And that report covers a wide range of information, but serves as an important tool for communication and transparency. This year, our school will host town hall meetings once a quarter to ensure that our stakeholders are kept abreast of the school's progress. It is important to us that prep students, parents, and communities and stakeholders feel heard and supported. And we will fully participate in our NC Access program by attending the trainings and the studies provided to give professional development on those monthly basis. Our word this year is fidelity, something that we acknowledge has been missing in our practices. But we are sure that the plans that we have gathered today and are implementing will produce change and growth for our students. We are fostering a culture of accountability. We are fostering a culture of communication. And we know that these components will help move the needle for Rocky Mount Prep in the direction that it needs to go. Mr. Bradley.
Again, the board would like to say, we own that major change and improvements are needed at Rocky Mount Prep, and we are committed to making all necessary changes. Through collaboration with parents, community members, educational experts, we will implement the targeted interventions that will lift the school's performance and ensure that every student receives the quality education that they deserve. Now, the way we look at it is that we are aiming for a world-class education, and we believe that our students are world-class learners, and we want to make sure that they get that opportunity in their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments this morning and a review of some of the changes you've made and the plans you've set forth. At this time, I'm going to open it up for CSAB members to ask the team at Rocky Mount any questions that you may have. I'll go ahead and start. I noticed in the plan for some of the training, there were training dates, or I'm sorry, there were trainings identified, but not specific dates, particularly for the board training. Can you address what is immediately on the horizon? For example, you have board session number 2 on growth mindset, number 3 on board management and governance. Those taking place, are dates set for that? Maybe update us on that.
Yes, thank you for your question. Our first board professional development was held on July 31st, and the next dates to set for the upcoming board trainings will be agreed and voted upon at our next board meeting on Monday, August the 14th.
And given that, Mr. Chair, you've hired an interim head of school, with this plan that's submitted before us today, did the new head of school, the interim head of school, get feedback into this, or have you sort of walked into, Dr. Collins, have you walked into this kind of inheriting this plan? I guess this would be one question I have.
Well, I would have to say, in all candor, previous leadership presented this plan to the board, though having been asked for it for more than a month. The day before resignation, and of course that resignation precipitated Dr. Collins stepping in. So in candor, this is an inherited plan. I'm not saying that it's a bad plan. I'm just saying Dr. Collins, neither Dr. Collins nor the board was afforded opportunity to review and have input.
When did that resignation take place?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
When did the resignation take place?
Resignation was effective July the 30th. We were notified in the middle, toward the last of July.
We received it July 21st.
Okay, we received it July 21st. And as I said, well, as I admitted to you, the board was over trusting, honestly. And for that reason, we allowed that late submission of the school improvement plan.
What is the, from a board's perspective, Dr. Collins is the interim head of school. Is the plan that Dr. Collins will see through the duties of head of school for the entire school year?
Well, that's a fascinating question, because you notice we call her the interim head of school, and I believe that it would be correct for the board to consider that. I think I have to take my hat off, which I'm not wearing, but I'm going to take my hat off to Dr. Collins. The way she stepped in, it reflects the expertise, the background, the breadth of background, and her ability to just step in and keep the school going. So I can't promise that she's going to be named head of school. I think that would not be right. However, I believe every board member is pleased with what she's done and how she's done it.
Okay. I do have one other question, and then I can let other CSAB members ask questions, because I'm sure they do as well. You know, part of the 3-year renewal process and contingencies that are in place is that a school, and particularly your school, cannot have any financial compliant warnings over the next 3 years. And we received word this week through a letter from DPI, and I know you received it as well, about a concern of some auditing of some money, and I think it was $800,000 over $800,000 that they were not able to substantiate how that money was spent. I know you're required to deal with this in the weeks ahead and months ahead. I think you have to provide a report back to DPI on this issue. I believe it's by November, early November. I could be wrong about that. Can you just address that very briefly, if you would? Or not briefly, just that situation?
Yes, I can address that to the extent that I can say that when I got that letter, my mouth dropped. We have never had a compliance issue in the past. So this was a shock to us. We are aware, like this letter was dated August the 8th, and we had no warning of that at all. Our plan to address that is to work immediately with our accounting partners. First of all, it was Charter Success, under whom this questionable, well, we could say troublesome allotment of funds was done, but also with Acadia and also our lawyer. We will do whatever is necessary to find a proper description how these funds were used, allocated and used.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any CSAB members, other questions you have for the team?
Yeah, Mr. Friend, this is Dave Michaud. I have a question for Mr. Keene and maybe our fellow CSAB members. The fact that you have a new interim director, do you think it would be appropriate that your new leadership team look at this plan and resubmit it at a later date, or are you comfortable with this plan as submitted?
That was my question too, Dave. This is Dr. Eldridge, or John Eldridge, sorry. I would think that if there was any kind of concern with being able to trust where the leadership prior to the interim was going with their plan, that they would need to have some time, especially if there's a month delay in the receipt of the plan, to be able to look this thing over, because it's theirs for the next 3 years. I know that it's a living, breathing document, and I would imagine things could be changed or modified, but I don't know if that would take a little bit of pressure off of making sure. Plus, that also gives them time to work on the financials.
If that could be arranged, we would appreciate it a great deal. That does not necessarily mean that we're unhappy with the plan. My personal point of view about the plan is that things have to change, and have to change quickly with fidelity from day one. And I really haven't asked Dr. Collins to rewrite it because we didn't have that opportunity. But if that could be arranged, we will use every minute. Also, with respect to the financial questions, we may need more than this time, though I really do not want to have more time.
Mr. Keene, also, have you experienced any turnover in staff or any change in board members since the departure of your executive director?
Well, that's interesting. You asked one board member. Shelton Daniel has decided, after having been on the board 4 or more years, that he was going to retire. We have a replacement board member to be introduced, a potential board member, Monday night, so that we have replacements and additional to that one board member. Now, with respect to staff, one of the problems I believe that we ran into the last school year 22-23, is that much of middle management did not stay through the year. I believe the changes that we are implementing will keep that management in place. I have to say, our staff, as I said, I was there at the opening of the first day of teacher training. They were eager, they were excited, they applauded things. I'm not sure that I remember seeing a staff applaud things as I did then. Of course, we are always looking for strong talent, but I believe we have that talent in place right now.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that question is in a former conversation with the school prior to you, the teacher buy-in to a school improvement plan as well, you know, and I don't know how much staff with, you know, the change in leadership and all that kind of stuff, how much your current teaching staff has had an opportunity to digest or even give feedback on the plan. So again, I'm not making any kind of motion or anything for the CSAB, but Dave Machado's question was a good one with regard to, but I don't know where that leaves us with the State Board of Education and their timeline either.
If I may suggest, I believe we're starting strong and starting well. I also very much believe in staff input into the plan that they're going to execute. So we're starting out. The possibility of some flexibility is greatly appreciated. We'd like that. But we have good plans, like I said, minute by minute, from bus to class, bell to bell, bell to bus.
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare. Do you have a minute for a few more questions?
Yeah, I just want to point out in terms of what Dave and John are kind of put words in their mouth, but suggesting that maybe we give them time to, given the changes in leadership, to perhaps come back at a later time with a new plan. Now, I'm looking through the state board stipulations. So, you know, stipulation number one was obviously, well, related to the timeline. It was to have this plan submitted by July 31st. They did that to have us review it at today's meeting, which we are doing. It does say that, you know, we can make recommendations for change that must be included in the plan in order to obtain CSAB's approval. I guess, unless someone on legal wants to step in and say I'm wrong here, if we wanted to have them, in light of this, if we wanted to have them say come back in September with their edits to this plan or revisions, I think that would be doable. So I just throw that out for consideration. Go ahead, Rita.
Well, okay, go ahead, Rita.
Mr. Gravely, how long have you been affiliated with Rocky Mount Prep?
Since 2019.
Okay, so you were not on the board prior to that?
Correct.
Okay, so that is 4 years. When you say, you know, that things have to change, and that you said your words were something like the board wasn't paying close enough attention. Does that sound right? Or too trusting?
My words were too trusting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I counted 20 of those budget issues, and I know this is off the topic of the school improvement plan. But you called those troublesome, and I find that a light term. It must be remedied and resolved, and there has to be, if you have a CPA, and I know that you do, it's just difficult to understand how this could occur. The accounting issues that have been listed in this audit or this report. So I hope that you're also giving that your complete focus and attention. It's almost $1 million. I'm rounding up, but it's a lot of money to be unaccounted or improperly accounted for. And so I agree with you that things have to change in that regard. When the school came in 2020, they were saying that they'd had 2 directors in the last 3 years. How many directors have there been since 2020?
One,
Okay, so 3 directors in the last, I guess, 4 to 5 years. Do you have anything you can attribute the changeover to? There's this turnover in school leadership. That's something that needs to be addressed so that you keep someone long enough to make a difference.
I would have to confess that I was new on the board as the change took place that brought in our most recent leadership. So I can't speak to earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You've been there 4 years. Have you noted? I mean, there has to be things that prompt a school leader to leave, and not to be able to retain someone in that role. I just wondered if this is part of the problem to be solved. Right. So you need to address that. What is it that's not helping you to retain your school leadership? I guess you can examine that as you move forward. And the other thing I want to mention is that, again, going back to 2019 and 2020 when the school came before us, and now today, there were conflicting goals. One was to reduce class size. It was a strategy to, again, we're trying to improve scores. We were doing that 4 years ago. We're trying to reduce class size, limit enrollment, but then there's a report next that we're concerned about the attrition and the numbers dropping. Where do you stand on that? What is the position now for Rocky Mount Prep?
My understanding about numbers is as follows. Previous leadership did something that I thought was, and the board thought was wise, and that was to grow our own high school rather than to bring in transferring high school students, and we not having had a number of years to help them be part of the culture that we wanted at Rocky Mount Prep. The decision to go from originally the highest number was 1250. We reduced that down to about 975 for 2 reasons. Well, when you don't admit high school students, your numbers will drop a little bit. But the other thing is that we had to make the hard decision to limit population so that we could make sure to get teachers in the classrooms. So it's not that we don't have 300 people waiting on the waiting list to come into prep. We have about 300 waiting. 300 waiting. We do have people who want to come here. It's just that we decided smaller was better at this time.
Thank you. That explains some of what I've been reading about the school. Do you know who's been handling the bookkeeping? Has that also had a lot of turnover in your accounting team?
That is the case.
Okay.
The accounting, now our partners, CSP and Acadia, have not, well, CSP we did let go and brought on Acadia, but relatively speaking, that has been, that's had continuity. Internally, yes, we had turnover in the accounting department, and Dr. Collins was brought in as a director of operations. Really liked how she did that. Liked the fact that she very much liked the culture that we want to have here. But we also felt she would be the person to step in at this time. And candidly, I like the decision so far.
What was her start date?
You started May 1st? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gravely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gravely, this is Stephen Gay. I'm a CSAB board member. How long have you been with Acadia?
This completes 1 year.
Okay.
I'd have to say it's been a better relationship.
All right. This is I'm going to give you my soapbox. I'm a native of Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount Prep's a big part of the community. I'm a family friend of the Malden family. Y'all have they had a high expectation, a high standard. Y'all got a long way to go to get back to what Bob wanted for a school. You have a challenge ahead of you, and I challenge you that. Rocky Mount Prep's 25 years old. You should not be having the issues you're having right now. So you need to fix it, or we're going to close you. I don't know if I can say that right. I'm a new board member, but you need to understand it. Because 25 years, you shouldn't be having these issues.
I think your candor is helpful. I agree with you. The school does not need to exist if it doesn't serve students well. We will serve them well.
And I understand it is more than just saying we will serve them well. You know, those saying, actions speak louder than words. And this is Hilda Parlay. And if we were to have them come back, we'd have to definitely have specific recommendations to their school improvement plan and professional development plan. But I'm having reservations. I hate to say I see a lot of weaknesses, but facts are facts. But they do need to really, really work hard to get it together. And then too, if we were to have them come back in September, then we have a lot going on, not to say that we would lessen the importance of them wanting to appear again or needing to appear again before CSAB. But we have a lot of applications, new applications coming in to consider. So it's a lot to consider whether we move this recommendation for a 3-year renewal for Rocky Mount Prep. Thanks.
I want to, this is John Eldridge again. I want to kind of piggyback off of Rita and Stephen. There's a documented rift between school leadership and board. With so many changes happening with whoever's running the school. As already noted, I think that needs to be also addressed in the board and leadership plan. How is the board being informed? How is the executive director, whatever the role is, superintendent, whatever you're calling it, communicating back to the board? Because I find it surprising that on August 8th, we get a letter that says that the school's $800,000 in debt. And if our school works with Acadia North Star as well, and to not have some idea that there was that big of a gap in funding recording or expenditure recording, it just is one more sign that there's working directly on the leadership. Because if the school leadership and the board aren't on the same page, the teachers are going to be swimming upstream with the students. And I think that's the biggest issue, and you're already on the clock with this being the first year in the 3-year renewal. So, there's a limited amount of time, and I think if given the opportunity to review this plan, I think it needs to be a real strong monitoring of how the school communicates with the board and how the board communicates with the school and how everybody's staying informed and on the same page.
Yeah, I'd follow up with I guess a question I have for the chair is, does your board have subcommittees? Like, do you have a finance committee of the board that's sitting down weekly or monthly with the head of school? So that, because I do find it, to be honest, I find it really surprising that the board doesn't know about this financial situation.
Well, as the chairman, I have and was in touch with Acadia. And the last time we got together, I was present in our discussions with Acadia and voiced that exact concern. Yes, there was a breakdown in communication between leadership and the board with respect to transparency of what was going on financially. Henceforth, I personally am going to be involved and also checking with Acadia to make sure that our budget and our expenditures match.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage you to, if you don't have one, to establish some board committees, not the least of which would be a finance committee that's meeting regularly. So, any other comments from CSAB members?
I just have one. The school came before us in 2019 and they had experienced 2 3-year renewals. So I'm assuming, Ashley, maybe you could confirm, did they get a 5-year renewal that year? This is coming up for 23, 24. Are they coming to us from a 5-year, having had a 5-year renewal?
I believe they had a 3-year. Let me try.
So that would be the 3rd 3-year. That would make this the 4th 3-year. And Mr. Growley, and I know you're aware, you've only been here for this most recent 3-year renewal. Maybe that's not enough time to affect the changes that you want to. But when a school continually gets 3 years, there is a reason it just can't perform to the level to get the strength of a 5, 7, or 10-year renewal. And again, change in leadership. If you don't identify what the problem is, it's going to continue to happen. You've been there 4 years. I hope that you've got the stamina and the will and the love for this school in this area that you want to see the changes you're talking about, because it will require some grit, I'm sure. But you need to get a leader that will stay with you, and perhaps you're feeling that's Dr. Collins, and she can speak to that, and your board and all those can decide that. But strong leadership is going to be critical for the next few years if you get this renewal.
Yes, ma'am. I agree, and I am not planning on retiring from the board. I was present at a meeting when Bob Malden presented to the Kiwanis Club in Rocky Mount this dream. I was present at the meeting. I loved it when I heard it. I still love it.
Okay, board members, if there's no other questions, we're faced with, they've been given a 3-year renewal, but it is contingent upon either us approving the plan today or making recommendations, or and I guess having them come back with a revised plan would be one of the options that we can give. That's not going to slow down the start of their school year. Would anyone like to make a motion as it relates to this plan or recommendation for moving forward?
Bruce, how did the financial issues interplay with the academic plans?
Well, it's my understanding from the letter from DPI is that they have until, I think it's early November, to address those concerns that's been raised through that auditing process. So I don't think, to me, what that letter indicates is that as they're thinking about their school improvement plan, they also need to be thinking about how they're improving their overall financial oversight, which they might be wanted. If we're going to ask them to come back with a revised plan in 30 days, I would suggest they might want to address that as part of one of their goals. But
Bruce, that's actually a great question. This is John again. When did the clock start ticking on you can't have any financial noncompliance?
Well, technically, I said started ticking with the school year. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley, or if there's legal on the phone, I don't think this letter alone puts them on financial noncompliance. I think it would come if they're not able to adequately address the concerns raised in the letter.
That's what really, I'm sorry, that's really what I was asking, to say this isn't addressed by September. Does this impact the 23-24 school year when they can't have financial noncompliance, or is it as of when the school board dictated that as a mandate?
Well, I think there's I think the state board kind of made it a little vague in terms of, it seemed to be effective immediately. Of course, at the time of that, one of these schools was already in financial noncompliance. And I don't believe that's Monroe Academy. I don't believe they've been removed. So I think my thinking on this is we are monitoring these schools very closely, that we try to get the school improvement plans approved so we can start kind of monitoring those. And then, they will also be coming, all of these schools, back to you guys throughout the year just for updates. And at that time, for example, if in November we find out from federal programs or fiscal monitoring that they still have concerns or that these things have not been remedied, then that would be a case where we would bring that to you all as a board, and discussions would have to be made in terms of what kind of repercussions they are based on the state board stipulation.
I think I would interpret, one of the state board stipulations is that they cannot be on financial non-compliant or even a warning thereof over the next 3 years. If through the work that they're going to have to do with DPI, if they do get placed on financial non-compliance, we would be in a position where next year at this time or summer, are we letting them ride out their 3-year charter, or are we talking about revocation immediately?
That's what I was getting at.
I think we've put the school on notice today, even with feeling great about this plan. I think, not to speak for the board members, I think they've heard us loud and clear today that at the end of this school year, if they're in financial non-compliance, if they've continued to have leadership changes, if the academic performance, they may be on a 3-year renewal. I think they're on a yearly renewal, to be honest. In my opinion, not the opinion.
And knowing that, as me just speaking for myself, I'm not comfortable approving this plan right now, just simply because I feel like the new leadership and any new staff, whatever board member, needs to have some time to be sure that this is what they're putting their school on. So I don't know if we have, I don't know if legal's on, or if Ashley can tell us what that does to the state board if we were to make a motion to give them some time to absorb this and make any edits or corrections that they need to make, or additions. Ashley, is that a problem?
I don't think so. As long as you have as long as we have a plan for, and they will come back for this approval, I think that should be fine.
I'm with you. I will say I'm with you on that, John.
Well, then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion then, and let the rest of the board discuss that motion. Is that I'll make a motion that we bring Rocky Mount Prep back to the September board meeting so that they can have time to make any modifications they need to make, and then we'll take action on the school improvement plan at that time.
This is Bruce. I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
Can we guarantee that this revised plan be completed by September? Go to Pranay.
What's the date?
Mr. Board Chair.
The date in September?
The CSAB meeting is September 11th and 12th. So we will be in contact with the school about scheduling an appropriate time for one of those days.
Can we guarantee completion, sir?
Yes, we'll have it complete.
Thank you.
I might suggest, just as a suggestion to to the folks at Rocky Mount. You heard us deliberate on the Paul R. Brown prior to this school, and maybe the plan wasn't perfect. I think the format they used in terms of very clearly articulating their goal and the strategies that they're going to employ and the dates this thing is going to happen might be something you want to look at as you're revising your plan.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from CSAB members? Okay, we have a motion on the table to have Rocky Mount Prep come back at the September CSAB meeting, date and time to be determined, to present any provisions they want to make to their plan, given the new leadership change. We had a second, we've had discussion. Ashley, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
All right, and just for the record, Alex Quigley is going to abstain from these votes just because he's just recently back on the board and has not been involved in these previous conversations. All right, so
Can we restate the motion? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
Could you restate the motion?
Yes, this is to bring Rocky Mount Prep back to the September CSAB meeting to take action on a revised school improvement plan.
Okay.
Okay. Stephen Gay?
Aye.
Bruce Green?
Aye.
Rita Hare?
Aye.
Dave Machado?
Aye.
Hilda Parlay?
Approves.
Eric Sanchez?
I'm going to abstain as well, with the fear of a conflict of interest as well.
Okay. Shelley Shope?
Aye.
And John Eldridge?
Aye.
Okay, Rocky Mount will be in touch with you about getting you on the agenda for September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ashley, before Mr. Gravely leaves, could I note one thing too? And are you there, Mr. Gravely?
Yes, I am.
You have some board leadership training that is self-paced and it's due by October. I would just recommend you and as many of your board members go ahead and dig into that. It's directed towards the kinds of things that you will need to develop the board, that you want to be attentive and engaged and help affect some of the changes that you're looking at. So I would just say review that and see how you can expedite getting that rolling.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, the next school that we have today is Monroe Charter Academy. Here is their academic data that was presented for renewal. Just as a reminder, this school only had 1 year of academic data due to when they opened in the pandemic. So that's why you see some gaps in availability of data for this school. This is their first renewal.
Good morning. Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, great.
All right, thank you. Good morning. My name is Dr. Kamala Ford. I am the founding principal of Monroe Charter Academy. Our goals that we have created as a school and to look at is that we would like to increase our math, reading, and science achievement to 60% by June of 2025. And in order for us to be able to do that, we had to take a step back, look at our curriculum, and also look at the professional development that is being offered to teachers and making sure that we have the correct teams and PLCs in alignment. So one of the things that we are doing is that we're going to establish a CLT, a school leadership team, and the grade level PLCs together. What that will be able to provide us is an opportunity to continue to analyze, compile school data, and making sure that the decisions that we're making are aligned to not only meeting the growth of our students, but also meeting their individual needs. We will also establish a clear structure and purpose for PLC meetings, making sure that teachers have the opportunity to collaborate with each other. One of the things that we will be looking at through the carrying out of tasks is planning and implementing lessons, making sure that they're done with rigorous, having an opportunity to pre and post assess students to see where we need to fill in those gaps, that we will be able to provide during the instructional day, because we have a remediation and block that's set aside for those students that need additional support, and then those that already have it and need to be pushed to the next level. Another strategy is that we're going to rigorously monitor curriculum and classroom instruction by providing weekly classroom walkthroughs, classrooms assessments, like I talked about earlier, through pre and post assessments. Through those walkthroughs, being able to provide teachers with immediate feedback. For the ones that are on task, moving us in the right direction, being able to have them to partner or provide a little professional development, sharing strategies and things that they've done in their classroom that has worked. And the way that we're going to look at our monitoring is, of course, through classroom walkthroughs and through various assessments like M-Class, NWEA, and classroom assessments. The professional development that will be provided that is in alignment with this goal is that we're going to be a part of the instructional leadership cohort, the OCS leadership program. Teachers have already and will continue to go through core knowledge training and go through Go Math training, which is 2 of our key curriculum that we offer. We will be able to compile all of our data this year in Panorama. So we'll have what I kind of look at as a one-stop shop. All the data will be compiled in one area that we will be using through for our monthly data meetings to discuss data, and weekly times when we'll be talking with teachers. For goal number 2, our goal is to meet EVOS growth in reading and math by June of 2025. Our strategy is we're going to analyze and interpret school performance data, look and see where we are, looking and filling in those gaps along the way to continue to show growth. We're also going to build capacity of implementation with MTSS, really diving in and really understanding the MTSS model and process. That will be done through classroom walkthroughs, pre and post tests, through classroom assessments. And we'll also be tying that in with our professional development that we have listed, which is instructional leadership cohort, OCS leadership program, of course, having our core knowledge and our Go Math training, which is our curriculum, M-Class, NWEA, and Panorama. And our last goal that we will be focusing on will be to increase our parent and guardian engagement to 20%. One of the things that we are looking at is to increase our parent engagement committee, to have more parents involved, whether it's coming in and volunteering, or just being present, being there, showing up for their child each and every day. And some of the things that we're looking at to be able to do that is to provide monthly parent workshops, which will start off with, like beginning of school, what to expect. And it can go all the way up into financial investment, buying a home, looking at the whole community, not just with the academics, but also engaging them and teaching them other things that's going to impact them throughout their life. We will also be having a bi-monthly coffee with Dr. Ford, where they will come in and meet with me. I will talk about the school, all the great things we have going on, the areas of challenges that we're still facing, and then opening up and asking them what it is they need from us that will help them be more involved in our school. And that will be learned, and of course, on my end, for the leadership end, through the instructional leadership cohort and the OCS leadership program. So with those goals in mind, we have our professional development plan. So one of the things is that the leadership is involved with the OCS leadership program, which is through NC Access. Myself and the curriculum specialist will be going to those trainings, and then we'll be coming back and training our staff. The second training that we will be involved in is the instructional leadership cohort, the ILC. There it would be myself, curriculum specialist, and one of our teachers to have her on board with us, with our team. And the strategies and the knowledge that we're learning in these trainings, we'll be able to bring back and teach our staff, teach the rest of the teachers and the staff throughout the school year. The next conference will be the AIMS conference, where we'll have the opportunity to collaborate with other charter schools. Still pieces of nuggets here and there and different strategies that we'll be able to use in our school to help our students. And then because we are a classical school, we will also be attending the National Symposium for Classical Education, where we'll also take 2 to 3 teachers with us so that they'll also have an opportunity to dialogue with other teachers throughout the United States. And then for our teacher training, we've already did the CKLA core knowledge, as you see, was 2 days. Today, the staff did a Go Math because that is our new math curriculum. So they did training for that today. And then throughout the year, we will be ongoing with core knowledge, Go Math, and then other professional development through MTSS, understanding and diving data, and then also just building up relationships with not only students, but parents and the community.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Ford.
I'm sorry if I talk too fast.
You're fine. Okay, questions from CSAB members on Monroe Charter?
Yes, Board Chair. I noticed there was nothing related to board training or the board being involved, which is part of the stipulations. Why not? And how many members do you have on your board?
Yes, ma'am. Board will be getting trained. We are partnering with a consultant, Dr. Chance Lewis, that will be offering governance training and the responsibility to the board training. I do apologize for leaving that off of my plan. But we have partnered with Dr. Chance Lewis that will be training our board, like I said earlier, on their responsibilities, and then helping us with the board of how to build stronger relationships with the community as well.
And how many do you have on your board?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have 7.
All righty. Now, I noticed on your professional development plan, you only have 1 year out of the 3 that are required, whereas 2 years 2 and 3 not completed.
Yes, ma'am. Our leadership training that we will be using, that we are utilizing year 1, will be continuing for year 2 and year 3. So that
excuse me, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It will be ongoing professional development to making sure that we're stronger with our staff as well.
Yeah, but you do know that that has to be put in writing.
Yes, ma'am.
Specific. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see. You mentioned core knowledge, LA, language arts. What specifically more are you planning to do for math? I know you mentioned the Go Math and science, as a matter of fact. I didn't get a clear understanding of how you will handle that, math and science, in your curriculum.
Yes, ma'am. With the Go Math, that is ongoing training that will take place throughout the whole school year. That will happen monthly through professional development, which has happened during our staff meetings with the Go Math. With the science, we are using a consultant to assist us with increasing our science scores, and that is through Dr. Chance Lewis.
Okay, and you also mentioned the AIMS conference.
Yes, ma'am.
North Carolina Association of Public Schools, Charter Schools conferences. You won't know what those sessions are, of course, until that time comes for those conferences to be held. So why would you make that even a criteria, not knowing that based on what you need to do, as far as training is concerned, that those sessions would even be, that they would even be provided.
Yes, ma'am. You're right. Not knowing what they're going to have this year, I was basing it off of last year and the year before AIM conference that we attended.
You know, that's subject to change year to year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is Mr. Friend. I will thank you, Hilda, for this question. I had some of the same. I think committing that board or staff would go to conferences is obviously good professional development for them to have, but it's very not specific. You don't know what the sessions are going to be, and there's really no, what's the takeaway? What are they expected to bring back? It can improve the school. That's just not clear to me. And I guess, I don't know. So you mentioned the staff will be going through CSAB training.
Yes, sir.
Have they not already done that before you opened the school?
Yes, they have. We do it every year for the training to be especially with our new staff who weren't with us the year prior.
Okay, and I guess it's my other, again, it's not a question, it's just a comment. When I look at the goals and I see the strategies, like develop standards, aligns units of instruction, analyze and interpret school performance data, develop a structure to the relationships with parents and guardians. I mean, that just seems like that's basic school 101 to me.
Okay.
And that's just my opinion. I mean, others may want to weigh in and see it differently. I just think those are just things you do when you in the daily business of operating a school. I guess, am I interpreting this wrong that then those things weren't taking place up until now?
No, they were taking place. That has been our focus.
Okay. Other comments or questions from?
Yeah, Mr. Friend, this is Dave Machado. I have a real concern the fact that this plan is not complete and it's not spelled out for the 3 years that I think OCS very clearly stated needed to be done. To me, it reflects a lack of urgency and that we need to see some real improvement very, very quick. So I'm really concerned that they didn't go through the trouble of doing a 3-year plan.
Well, I would like to also step in. I definitely understand, and I will apologize that it's not up to the standard of OCS. I was out with a major surgery. And so getting together with the leadership at the school, myself and the curriculum was a little challenge as I was recovering from major surgery. So if I could definitely have an opportunity to upgrade the plan and be able to resubmit it for your approval.
Yeah, Mr. Machado, I mean, the very definition under school improvement that they gave was it has to be a 3-year plan. This is not. It doesn't even pass the first bullet point. Let alone, as Hilda pointed out, it doesn't address board training as well.
I agree. It's beyond minimal. It's not adequate.
And then, you know, the stipulation that we were given was to approve or make modifications or whatever. It's almost like we're stuck in a position to have to write 2 more years for the school in order for them to have the school improvement plan to move forward. I mean, I don't know, this looks like it was done in, a couple days.
I will have to say that it was not done in a couple days, and I met with our school leadership team prior to the school ended on our goals and what our focus should be on to ensure that we're increasing our students' academic progress.
How many students do you have basically on average per grade?
And total, I was interested too.
Like class.
Total, right now in Power School, we have 163. And first through sixth grade, the highest number we will have is 26. And in kindergarten, it will be 20.
And maybe I'm reading this wrong, but it says that for reading proficiency, third grade is going to go from 26 to 35%. That sounds like one student, or maybe two students that are going from non-proficient to proficient. Am I reading that wrong?
Where is that?
I'm on your Monroe Charter Assessment data snapshot. This is John Eldridge, by the way. I'm sorry if I didn't introduce myself.
No, you're fine.
The goals for the 2023-24 school year, and it's like 26 to 35 for the fourth grade, 15 to 20 for the fifth grade, or maybe I'm a grade level behind, but fifth grade to increase from 21 to 30%.
Yes.
Ashley, I have a question for the office, and again, if legals want to call, could chime in, please. If we don't approve this plan today, what are the options?
Well, what I will tell you that legal is not here. Legal had a conflict. But I think there's a couple options. You could ask them to come back with a revised plan in September, like we're doing with Rocky Mount. And we can address that then. You can let Monroe know exactly what changes need to be to the plan and direct that they be made. In speaking to legal, my understanding is that State Board drafted these stipulations with the desire that these schools would get an approved school improvement plan, but it might take some, recommendations and changes on the part of CSAB working with the school.
The only reason I felt obligated or at least comfortable recommending the previous school to come back was because they had a completed plan, and not everybody that was going to be a player at the table was given the opportunity to comment. To me, this plan is reticent of why they have been recommended for a 3-year renewal. And that's all, is because this is, to me, the amount of effort that's gone into this. It explains, at least gives a picture of why they're maybe in the situation they're in academically. Bruce, I'm with you. I don't really know what this means. If we're not asking them to modify their plan, we're asking them to complete the plan that was supposed to be completed prior to this meeting.
Yeah,
I agree with you, John. Build a parlay. Rocky Mount did not have an incomplete plan, but this one definitely is. Professional development plan.
I think Ashley, what you've outlined though is at the end is the same thing. If asked them to come back in September with, actually putting together, I'm going to be candid, putting together a plan that's actually a 3-year plan, which is what the state board requested. What they didn't, let me reword that. They didn't request it, they insisted. And it also includes what the board training is going to be. If we give them recommendation, they're hearing us today. They're hearing that this is inadequate. These things are missing. So at some point, they're going to have to present something to us, whether they're going to have to come back. I don't see any other path. We're not voting to, unless someone's making a motion, we're not voting to send a recommendation to State Board of non-renewal.
Mr. Chair, this is Rita. Did someone confirm that the training for August 2nd and 3rd did take place? That would have been last week or a week or so ago.
Dr. Ford, can you answer that question? Did the training take place last week?
Yes, it did take place on the 2nd and the 3rd.
Thank you.
How many teachers were trained?
It was 18.
18 teachers. Thank you.
My apologies, Rita. I'm sorry. Dr. Ford, I understand that your school is rather new, but it seemed as if when you were talking about PD, everything was continued from previously. Is there anything, briefly off the top of your head, that you know that's in the plan or in the next plan that is complete, that is new or even a different take, or are you saying that the training wasn't sufficient? I hear ongoing, and this is the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, and clearly that didn't work. And I do know, and I am a proponent for circling back around. But what was the thought process behind that?
Yes, ma'am. The new training that we have for this year is through ILC, the Instructional Leadership Cohort. That will be a new training this year that does more, that will help us to know how to have those crucial conversations with teachers, and also how to really look at the data in detail and provide constructive feedback, but more specific feedback to where they can make changes. That will be a new training for us.
And that's training for leadership, but not training for the actual teachers, correct?
Yes, because we will be the ones through this training. It's like they train us or tell us, and then we come back to our staff and train them and work with them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion or questions from CSAB members?
No, just noting again that the piece that Dr. Ford just mentioned is not in the professional development plan. Who would return? Which teachers would they train? Which years would this be done? It was left, it's all incomplete.
Yeah. So, would anyone like to make a motion?
I move, the Part A moves that we do not accept the plan as presented.
I will second that.
Is the board chair online? Is it Jim Stiegel?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I'm listening.
Have you made any comments today? Do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No, I haven't made any comments so far. One thing I would like to point out, and this would really be my only contribution, Dr. Ford briefly mentioned that she had been in surgery and sort of out of it it's been weeks now. So she's been trying to do all this from home and pretty much on her own as she feels up to it. I don't say that as an excuse. It's just information that you probably need to know.
I appreciate that information, and I certainly the work that Dr. Ford put in, even when she was at home, I guess, convalescing. It shouldn't fall on her shoulders alone, though. This is a school improvement plan that the board owns, and every member of the leadership team beyond Dr. Ford also shouldn't fall on her shoulders alone.
Ashley, were you ever contacted, Ms. McCoy, were you ever contacted and asked for an extension to turn this in?
I do not believe so. I don't know if anyone else on my team was.
And how long have they had to write this plan?
I believe several months. I'd have to find
Ashley, if I can jump in, the plans were given to the schools at the end of April. They were given these templates at the end of April.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry that there's been any kind of medical issues or anything like that, but the sense of urgency that the board and the school should have felt when the state board gives a lifeline and says, these are the things that you need to do, and this is a plan that's going to be coming before CSAB. I don't know that there's an excuse for how poorly this is laid out and how incomplete it is. And I'm not trying to wag a finger. I understand things get difficult, but I would have thought that this would have been a much more polished plan and something that the school could actually, you could map out and see where they were going. But, you know, like I said, it's a 1 year, it's an incomplete plan, and there's really no connection between the different things that are being done that let me know that this school is going to change the direction it's been going in for the last few years and move forward in a positive direction, you know. And I know we've made a motion for, there's been a motion on the table for accepting this plan, but again, I'm confused about what the alternative is. Is this now you've got a month to go back and do something that you've had months to complete already? I mean, this is a very precarious situation, and quite honestly, I don't know how the state board would react to. We gave this school a mandate, and this is what the answer was to that mandate.
And I definitely understand your concern, Mr. Eldridge. I just would like to ask if the board could give us until September. This is, I know it's no excuse. This is our first renewal. This is my even first time in this position, having to create with the board a plan of this magnitude. So I would like the opportunity to be given another opportunity.
And thank you for that. And, you know, I guess just moving forward too, I mean, regardless, I mean, we're all here to support you and try and help to make sure that your students are successful and you guys experience the success that you're hoping for. The Office of Charter Schools, I know that there were other schools that had to do this plan, that they reached out multiple times to get feedback and the plans reviewed and get some direction on, is this what you think is gonna, this is what we're thinking, what do you think? And, it doesn't sound like anyone reached out to the Office of Charter Schools to answer any questions or to get any confirmation on, is this, what do you think about this? Is this going in the right direction? So regardless of what happens after today, I would say that use any resources you have, whether they're partnering schools or someone else that's been down this road with planning of this magnitude, and get the support you need, because at the end of the day, this is really about the students getting the support they need to be successful. That's it at the end of the day, regardless if it's a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year renewal. We want, just like everybody else, we want all our students to be successful in the schools that they're attending. And that's not a soapbox. That's how I feel about this situation.
Does the school still use Eddie Goodall Consulting, and do they consult academically?
No, ma'am. Go ahead, Mr. Stegall.
No, we do not. We switched over to Acadia North Star, and for our accounting purposes, and Goodall was never really involved in the academic side.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question about the number of students. It's another one of those cases where we have a great variance. So we have the end of 2022 with 107, and now they have 163. I just want to confirm that they did grow by, 56 students? Ashley, do we have the official number at 163?
I'd have to look that up.
Okay, it'd be interesting to know the number of students that this impacts.
So we have a motion and a second, and the motion was that we're not accepting this plan. I think there is the logical question of what happens next, because the motion is not about inviting them back in September. I would presume, and again, I wish they were on the phone, that means that this will go back to the state board and they can decide what happens next. I mean, that's the only presumption I can make. I don't know if anyone has any other experience or ideas on that.
My thoughts are that I will need to confer after this meeting, and we can, once I confer with them and get an idea of what the next steps would be, we could move from there.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Could we adjust our motion to say they can come back?
I would not.
Okay.
Dear President, Polay would not revise your motion.
Dr. Ford, have you started school this year?
Yeah, we start on Monday.
Start on Monday.
And I know that our plan is not up to, from the feedback I received, but as far as EVOS growth, we have we have met growth for 2 years in a row. So we are going in the right direction.
So
and we're working very hard to make sure that, that we're meeting our students' needs and working with them to help them grow.
So, Mr. Gay, I think to answer your question, the motion's not being rescinded. Do you think we have to vote on the motion that's been brought before us? I don't think that precludes you or anyone making another motion after this vote, if someone was so inclined to do so. But I think if it's just this motion and it fails, if this motion is accepted, I think we have to wait from Office of Charter Schools in contact with legal and state board what the next steps are. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, the motion on the table is to not accept this plan for Monroe Charter Academy. It was seconded. We had discussion. Ashley, can we do a roll call vote?
Yes, I have Hilda as moving. Who seconded? I didn't hear that.
I did, Bruce.
Okay. Stephen Gay? Okay. So,
yes.
Oh, you're here. Okay.
I'm still here for now. I gotta bounce out, but yeah, I approve the motion.
Okay. Bruce Friend?
Aye.
Rita Hare?
Aye.
Dave Machado?
No.
Hilda Parlay?
Approves.
Shelley Shope?
Aye.
John Eldridge?
Aye.
Okay. So it does pass 6-1, and I do believe that Eric Sanchez had to leave, and I believe Mr. Gay, do you have to leave as well?
I do. We have open house.
Okay. So we'll have just a quorum for the next school for apprentice. So if anyone else has to leave, please let us know because we will no longer have a quorum.
Okay, Ashley, before we close this on Monroe, so the motion was not to approve this plan. Is there any other motion to be made by anyone on the board? Okay, hearing none. Ashley.
Mr. Chairman Friend, I would like to make a motion reluctantly that we allow them to come back in September. I'm not sure what the outcome would be. Does this mean automatic revocation? Does OCS have the ability to manage this as quickly? I do not like the idea of having them to come back, but I don't know what our other choices are. So I will make a motion that we allow them to come back in September with a new plan.
I second that motion. Steve Gay.
Okay, we got a motion to invite Monroe Charter back in September. We have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, that's why I was hesitant on my vote other time around, because honestly, when you read what the state board has directed, I don't know where it just by denying the plan, that I don't know that was what they've asked to happen. So I'm into giving them one more chance. I'm gonna support the coach. I'm into giving them one more chance, even though they've had 4 or 5 months to get this in, and now they only have one to put something together. But if it's not, I'm telling you, if this motion carries and they're brought back, we need to have a stellar plan that we all feel comfortable supporting.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question as far as I know we talked about what the state board says, and I agree with obviously not accepting this plan. However, do we have a choice to bring them back? If we don't accept this plan, we're not, unless the motion comes up, we're not saying to revoke the charter. So in my head, and this may be incorrect, I would think that we would have to have them come back.
Yeah, I think that's the uncertainty that we're facing here. We don't know exactly what the next step is. The fact
Actually, can you attest to that? Sorry, Dr.
I think that in any event, they will have to come back in September. No matter what, if either you guys, pass this motion to bring them back to review an updated plan, or depending on what my conferencing with legal and state board leadership, determines, they would probably want another type of recommendation in any event. So I would think that, yes, they would probably come back in September, regardless of whether you approve the plan or ask them to revise it or what we decide here today.
Mm-hmm. I think if we wait for the state board to meet, this puts us off another month.
Yep.
Or they're going to find out in 2 weeks, which means they only have 2 weeks to get the plan done. So,
and again, my opinion is that we don't really have a choice. If we send it back to state board with a no recommendation, they are going to ask us to come back with another recommendation. Unfortunately, we're giving Monroe Charter an undeserved lifeline, but I don't know what our other choices are. And when if this motion passes and they come back with a plan, it better be an awfully good one, or I would be prepared to deny it at that time.
I think one of the things that we can do at the next state board meeting is, so we now have, the state board will have seen that we rejected this plan. And if this next motion passes, we are, though, inviting them back. I think one of the things that we will want to have clarity on is if they come back in September, is the state board going to give us direction and or expectation as to if the September plan is not sufficient, or if legal can do that as well. I will support this motion, but I do think it was important, as we just voted, to let everyone who's here today and reading the minutes understand that this plan was not sufficient. And I dare say that if this vote had happened in April, we wouldn't be inviting them back.
Mm-hmm. Are there other board members with us besides Jim Steele?
No, ma'am, not today.
There are no other board members present. So Monroe dropped the ball in this, and you stated that, Bruce, and all. And we have Dr. Ford, and we have our board chair, that 18 teachers in training, and no one could put together, they have 3 goals in their school improvement plan in 1 year of PD. And we don't know how many students are there. Dr. Ford, you said school starts on Monday. What is the enrollment right now?
163.
That's confirmed enrollment. You have teachers and classrooms and chairs for 163 on Monday.
Yes, ma'am. That is confirmed with all completed paperwork and all students that have been uploaded in Power School. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, we have a motion on the table to invite Monroe Charter back. They must submit a revised school improvement plan. at our September meeting. The date and time will be determined. Office of Charter Schools would be in touch with them. Again, we have a motion and a second. Ashley, can we do roll call vote, please?
Yes. Stephen Gay?
Yes, approved.
Bruce Friend?
Aye.
Rita Hare?
Aye.
Dave Machado?
Aye.
Hilda Parlay?
Nay.
Shelley Shope?
Aye.
John Eldridge?
Aye.
Okay. So it passes, and we will schedule you for September, and I will also have some discussions with legal about these specific stipulations and possibilities moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, last one, Jenna.
All right, the last school that we have here is Apprentice Academy of North Carolina. Similar to this previous school, we only have 1 year of data for them, but I believe Dr. Ross is here to present their school improvement plan for you.
I am here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Barry Ross. I'm the founder and principal of Apprentice Academy, and with me today is our board chair, Mr. John Jedra. And I guess based on everything I've heard so far, I will just lead off with saying I admit I did not put the full extension for 3 years. I guess as I used my own interpretation that the training I'm presenting to you, this is ongoing. None of what we're doing here is one and done. But obviously, in retrospect, I should have still filled out the paperwork as was requested. But I could assure you, all this training is research-based training, and anyone who's been through it knows it's more than just 1 year. But again, that's on me for not putting out the whole timeline. So anyway, but with that our goal one is we want to move. We have a DNR report card. We're looking to move to a B by 2025. Our strategy is we have hired, and I should say everything I put on here, we've paid for or going to pay for, because we do have a school improvement grant. So there's no financial worries about how we're going to pay for these services. So and we hired Miss Dr. Lisa Swinson, which I imagine many of you know. She's our lead consultant, and in fact, she just left. She was listening in with me. She was here yesterday and today, assessing our situation and meeting with my teachers and my staff and myself and my assistant principal. And we developed our plan going forward. She's going to be working with my teachers twice a month. That she'll be out here, and she already informed my teachers about what she'll be looking for, and that we'll also, my teachers will be actually recording themselves and sending that to Dr. Swinson for her to give her feedback on what she sees and the times when she's not physically out here, and then and I should say in all our strategies. At least as myself and Chairman Jedra look at, these are all interdependent and all interlocking. So they're not in silos. Everything we've done is builds on one thing or is dependent on another. So the second strategy we have for getting to where we want to go with goal one is PLC. So I took a team to PLC training, and that was in June here in Charlotte. They had the training in Charlotte to become a PLC community, and I should emphasize that PLC emphasizes the fact it's an ongoing training, so we will have to go to it again next summer, and then the summer after that. So I've laid out our action steps, and the first one is we will have to organize ourselves into teams. And I should also say that I've built the master schedule so that the team time is built into the schedule. So our school lets out at 3:03 every day, and then from 3:10 to 3:45 we have team time Monday through Friday. Which time when our teachers are able to collaborate and meet, and myself and my assistant principal at our first collaborative meeting on Monday, I'm going to do it with the entire staff, and
we'll give our expectations of what we're looking for PLCs, just like we all learned in training. And so our members our teachers who were at that training, they also know what's expected, but now starting on Monday, we're going to implement that. Okay, then on goal 2, we had to increase our student math performance. We're looking to increase it to 75% proficiency by 2025. Many of you probably have heard the SREB, the Southern Regional Education Board, and so we have contracted with them. Again, this will be ongoing training, and they will be making 13 visits to my school this year to work specifically with my math team, and so there'll be and they'll start coming out in September, and we'll be working with them on that, and then additionally. Not only with math, but my other teachers, we also contract with the state's beginning teacher support program, and I have a couple of new math teachers that are on board now, and so they'll receive that extra training as well. So they get from the SREB as well as the coach that we pay for through the BTSB, and that's through the UNC University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And then our third goal is we want to improve our high school graduation rate from 60% to 75%, again by 2025. And our main approach to that, and I think one of the other schools mentioned it, everyone's probably aware of AVID. And if you don't know, that stands for the Advancement Via Individual Determination. And we determined, looking at our biggest challenge with our students has been a transition from middle school to high school. Prior to last year, we were only a standalone high school, and so many of our students did not come to high school prepared for work. So we looked at it, and research indicates that AVID's been around for 40 years, and we're using their techniques to help prepare our ninth graders to be successful in high school. Because as you know, ninth grade is the pivotal year. If we're successful in ninth grade, then in all likelihood, they'll be successful as they go through. Again, and how it's built into my master schedule, it's, as a high school, we're in a 4x4 block, but AVID is not designed for a semester. It's a year-long course, but it's typically only 45 or 50 minutes. So I kind of do it. We're doing it on an A day, B day, where the teacher teaching is a social studies teacher. So one day will be AVID, next day be world history, so on and so forth. And that'll be for a year-long course. Additionally, we have made Math 1. Math 1, we have a semester is just not enough time, we found, for our students. So I've made on the master schedule, Math 1 is also a year-long course. So we're hopeful that between the support we get from SRIB and the amount of time that our students will actually spend in Math 1, that come May 2024, we will see the success on the Math 1 exam that we haven't seen before. And additionally, our last strategy for improving high school graduation is we are also a restorative practices school, and we just had our training this past Tuesday because my teachers have returned to work. And again, restorative practices it's more of a discipline philosophy than an actual discipline program, as you know, because it's a non-punitive program. It's designed to build relationships between teachers and students. Well, teachers and students, teachers to teachers, and of course, with any other adult in the building. So when students, clearly the research shows when students have relationships with their teachers, they do better in school. And although it's not on here, we also employ a full-time mental health counselor, Dr. Capo. She is a PhD in mental health, and we converted one of my positions this year into a dean of students, and our dean of students is actually the lead day-to-day restorative practices coordinator. So, so with that is our plan that we will implement this year and going forward as well.
Thank you very much for that. Our time for questions, discussion. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I'm just going to reiterate what we just talked about at the last school. The very first stipulation was to submit to us a 3-year plan. This is not a 3-year plan. Even the template has years 2 and 3. That they're there for a reason. Fill it out. This is not a 3-year plan. Anyway, any other questions or comments?
This is very disappointing again. I don't understand when State Board sends out a directive, a school's lifeline is at stake, and there's not a sense of urgency to get a plan, a good plan submitted in time. This is so disappointing.
I ditto that with Dave. Thank you.
Not to mention, Elder Parlay dittos.
You know, we all have schools to open next week, and we spent our entire morning, and we had four schools present. 2 didn't even do the most. 2 didn't even knock off the first bullet on the checklist.
The charter school,
very disappointing.
The charter school staff has been busting at trying to get all this stuff pulled together, and I appreciate the Office of Charter School staff, Ashley and her crew, for trying to direct these folks and get this done so that we could be all organized and get everything moving forward today. So my apologies to them for having to pull together incomplete work and bring it to present.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we do not approve apprentice 3-year plan.
Any other Parlay seconds?
Any discussion or questions? All right, hearing none. Ashley, can we do a roll call vote? The motion is not to approve this plan.
Yes. All right. Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Rita Hare.
Aye.
Dave Machado.
Aye.
Hilda Parlay.
Approves.
Kelly Shope.
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Is there any other motion that a member would like to make?
I'll make a motion that we bring them back to the September meeting with a complete plan for us to review.
I get a second.
Mr. Eldridge, would you entertain changing that to October if for them to come back?
Was the other one October, Dave? I missed that. I thought it was September.
Yeah, I think if OCS can confirm that October is okay, we got so much work to do in September. Now this would be another one. So,
yeah, Dave, I'm just concerned that it'll be 3 months into the school year or 2.5 months into the school year. We haven't even approved the school improvement plan where they've only got 2 year left and a 3-year extension. So yeah, I'll go ahead and modify it to October, but my hopes would be that while we're doing that, everything that's down here for year 1 is carried out and done like it needs to be done until we get the full plan in front of us. But yeah, I'll amend my motion to have them be present and ready in full at the October CSAB meeting.
Also, this is Rita. We're in a discussion on the vote. Is that correct? We've got a motion.
Well, we got to do a second.
We need a second.
Okay. I noticed John Jedra, the chair, is on the line, and I don't think we've heard anything from him. If he'd like to contribute anything before we make a decision.
We need a second on the motion.
Yes, we do.
I'll second it.
Okay, now open for discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Jedra? He's muted. He has nothing to say. I just thought he should add to this discussion.
Nothing, okay. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion to bring them back in October with a revised plan. It's been properly seconded.
I'm very uncomfortable. We have Dr. Ross, and it's the only person we've heard from. Does the school have a board?
We do. I don't, Mr. Jedger is on here. I don't know what happened.
Mr. Jedger, can you take yourself off mute maybe, or?
Text him to see if what happened.
He's on the list.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ross, do you single-handedly handle this plan? Or is this something you're going to do?
No, this is something myself, my assistant principal, all of my staff members that have been to training, continue on training. So I appreciate that I realize I made a wrong interpretation. But to think that this is not a good plan, I would argue all of this is research-based, and as long as it's done with fidelity, it is research proven that it will work. Dr. Swinson, who is our lead consultant, every school that she's worked with that has followed her plan has gone from F or D schools to passing schools in 1 year. So admittedly, I take full responsibility that I did not put this out to 3 years. But again, we're all educators, and I think everyone realizes this is not a one year, one and done. This is multiple year project. So
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The plan is lean, but the school representation is also lean. Again, the sense of urgency should have some involvement and show that people are engaged, that this is critical to Apprentice's future. It's a unique school. I believe there's a need for it. I want to see you be successful. But you have to have buy-in from your school family, from your supporters, and I'm not seeing that.
So Dr. Ross, or Mr. Ross, was this plan shared before?
I'm sorry, say again?
Was this plan shared with the board before submission?
Yes, I talked to the board with it. He said he's here now, so I don't.
I'm here. I'm sorry, I had to step away. I'm at work, so I'm here.
We asked the question as a representative of the board if you had any comments you wanted to share with us before we make our vote.
The only additional comment that I had is something that I had shared with the other board members as well as Barry was ensuring that we've focused on driving the board to get all of their training in addition to the school, and overemphasizing the requirement for the board to continually get more and more involved with the school administration and the operations. I meet with Barry regularly. We put together the retreat for the board, and we're still actively recruiting additional board members. And with Barry, we continue every month, we continue to go over the requirements that we have to meet the requirement of the state, as well as our own goals and our mission of the school. We've been, I don't want to say distracted. We've had our issues with needing to relocate the school, which has caused some of our attention to be moved away, but we still have continued involvement with the school. And with all of those issues getting resolved, we see no reason why we're not able to meet all of the requirements. And we have our retreat within the next 2 weeks to be proactive with the requirements for the state.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I feel compelled to say that, and you probably heard us say this during the renewal period, let's never forget the charter is owned by the board.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Ross cannot carry this water on his own.
Correct.
Or his staff.
And may I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, because I'm just trying to find out what the is the issue per se. You guys do not agree with our training plan, or is it because we did not finish the full documented as was intended.
CSAB members, anyone like to answer that? To me, it was step one. And what we were asked to evaluate 3-year plan. We don't have a 3-year plan in front of us. So.
Yeah, my concern is it's an incomplete plan. That's my concern.
Excuse me, Dave.
I'm actually with you on CSAB for a lot of my work for tenants with literacy and math. So, you know, if you're working with them, that's a good group of folks. Who are your coaches?
Well, I figured I worked initially with Tom Seiler, and they're bringing, and I'm getting a math expert who actually lives in the Charlotte area, but I can't recall her name off the top of my head. She won't be here till next month.
Okay, well, I mean, if you're going to stick with those guys for a few years, obviously what I would say, Barry, is that even if you're working with SRED for the next 3 years, their focus is going to be different each year as you see improvement. It may be worth sitting down with that math coach to say, okay, year 1, what are we going to do? Year 2, what's it going to look like? Year 3, because in that way you can shape your plan over the 3 years as opposed to just putting down SREB coaches. Well, what's the literacy focus? What's the math focus? Year 1, is it planning with the end in mind? Is it DOK and questioning? They'll help you kind of lay out a 3-year plan, because I believe in them too. I'm using them, but I think what we're saying is just complete the plan and look in range. It's obviously a living and breathing document, and you may make edits, but it just fulfills the first tenet, as Bruce says, that you have a 3-year logistical plan for how you're going to get there.
Got it. I understood. I'll have it ready next time.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to bring them back for final discussion. Okay, hearing none, Ashley, let's do a roll call vote.
All right. Bruce Friend?
Aye.
Rita Hare?
Aye.
Dave Machado?
Aye.
Philip Harlay?
Nay.
Shelley Shope?
Aye.
John Eldridge?
Aye.
Okay. It passes, and that was revised for October. Is that what you guys put it for?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Barry, we'll be in touch with you guys.
Okay.
And yes, I think that's all we have for today.
All right, thank you.
Well, I appreciate everyone's time this morning and this afternoon. As a reminder, our next CSAB meetings are in person in Raleigh on September 11th and 12th. And we'll send some information out between now and then. And as far as our committee work, if you're not clear on what committee or your specific section to review, just either circle back with Ashley or I, and we'll help you out. But I hope everyone has a great weekend. And for those running schools, I hope you have a great start to the new school year. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Friend.
All right, I'll second that. And I'll assume it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Bye, everybody. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.